Well, hello lovely humans, and welcome back to my channel. Today we are gonna spill some tea. Just kidding. First of all, this is coffee. Second of all, we're not spilling any tea. We're doing a get to know me video. Psych you out? No? Okay. Was it because of the title of the video? I realized that I kind of launched into this channel with like DIYs and then went straight into Vlogmas, which was insanity, but I've never really done a get to know me video. So I thought, I didn't have any other ideas for what to do today. So I jumped on Instagram and asked you guys, and y'all had a bunch of pretty awesome questions. So, let's sit on down, grab a cup of coffee, let's hang out together. Get to know one another just a little bit better. What did you do before you were a wedding planner? That's a fantastic question. For a long time before I was a wedding planner, I actually worked in interior design of sorts. I sold furniture to retailers at a wholesale location, imports and vintage pieces, and I also sold used furniture at a consignment shop. So I would say that a lot of my work history is colored by interior design stuff, which is obviously one of the main components of this channel is design and decorating your home and making things pretty because it just makes me so happy. So that's what I did for a long time. I was also a nanny for a while, and I worked at Starbucks, which I think actually helped a lot with my customer service skills. That, when combined with my interior design stuff, has lent quite nicely to wedding planning, actually. Do you want any more kids? Yeah, I do. I want more children. At least one more, if not two. Another question I got asked was, did you always know you wanted a big family? Growing up, I wanted 12 children because I read this series about this family that had 12 kids, and I was just kind of obsessed with that idea. Luckily, I grew out of that because I realized that paying college tuition for your children is sometimes a thing, and 12 is a lot. 12 is a lot of children. So we've toned it down to about 4 or 5, but we'll see kind of where the Lord leads with that. I definitely want more, hopefully within the next handful of years, because I just think kids are a lot of fun. They're a lot of work. Don't get me wrong, but they're a lot of fun as well. All right, next question. How did you meet your husband? Okay. So my husband and I met through Starbucks. He actually worked at the one next to my parents' house, and I worked at another one. And I remember when I first met him, he had like this Justin Bieber surfer-esque hair that he would always like flick his head to get it out of his face. And he had no mustache at all, and he has a total baby face and really sweet dimples. And he introduced himself as Eli, but his apron said Elias, and I was like, what is happening? He's got two names? Like, is he wearing someone else's apron? Because I didn't realize that Eli was a nickname for that. And then I remember the first time I saw him out of his work uniform, and I totally checked him out. I did. 100% checked him out. He's a good-looking fella, I gotta tell you. I'm a little biased, but I think he's hot. How long have you been wedding planning? I've been wedding planning for just over 3 years now, and I am freaking loving it. I love my job. It's so much fun. If you could change one thing about your wedding day, what would it be? If you watch my main channel, then you know that I've got very strong feelings about this. If you know what I do for a career, then you know I have very strong feelings about this. But if there's one thing that I would change from my wedding day, it would be to hire a coordinator. And yes, it sounds extremely biased, but one of the main reasons that I actually even started my wedding planning business is because of the experience that I had on my wedding day. I didn't have a coordinator. I was running my own day. I was run ragged, my husband was frustrated, a bunch of things didn't start on time, a lot of things weren't tended to, my mom was like running to the DJ trying to get our grand entrance started. There's so many things that could have been fixed had we had a day of coordinator. So obviously wedding planning, like my desire to have a wedding planning business was sparked by my planning process, but that spark was ignited hardcore by my experience on my wedding day and not wanting to have anyone else have that feeling. So if I could change one thing, it would be that. It'd be hire a coordinator. For sure. My husband, the penny pincher of, we're both pretty financially, I think, fiscally wise, but he's a little bit more of a miser when it comes to pennies and pinching. Even he looks back on our wedding day and he's like, oh, we totally should have hired a coordinator. That was insanity. We totally should have done that. Is there an age gap between you and your husband? Saucy. Yeah, I'm a cougar. My husband is 3 years younger than me. Not intentional. He just is very mature for his age, for the most part. Don't let him hear me say that, though, because then he's just gonna bust out a bunch of really immature jokes. He's a special breed, that one. Do you believe in God? I do. I was raised in a Christian home, actually. My father is a pastor by trade. So growing up as a pastor's kid was definitely, in my experience, a whole lot of fun. I know sometimes people have some negative feedback on that, but I loved it because I got to be surrounded by people and I got to go to events and I got to do all these fun things. And so, yeah, I believe in God. I believe in Jesus. I believe that he is my savior, and I'm so grateful for what he did on the cross for my life. And there's so much more I could probably say about that, but it was such a simple question and I turned into such a long answer. Yes, I believe in God wholeheartedly. And with my whole heart. Did you go to college? Yes, I did. In fact, I am 2 classes away from completing my degree. It has been a very long process. I went to Saddleback College, which is community college in South Orange County, for a little bit, and then moved over to Concordia University with a degree in applied liberal arts, because for a long time I thought I was going to become a professor. I either wanted to become either a professor or a marriage and family therapist. Those were two like really fascinating subjects for me. If I was going to become a professor, it probably would have been in sociology. I'm fascinated by people. I'm fascinated by how they work and how they work together and cultures, and there were just there's so many things about people, which is probably what draws me to wedding planning so much. And then I planned my wedding and I thought, this is amazing and I want to keep doing this. And so while I haven't completed my degree yet, again, I'm 2 courses away. But with 3 kids, it's really hard because these are on-campus courses. I can't do them online. It's science with a lab and then econ. Like, oh, why did I leave those to the last minute? Lord help me. So yes, I did go to college. Haven't quite completed my degree yet. I'm hoping to soon. We'll see how that goes. What went through your mind when you found out you were having twins? A lot of words I'm not going to say on this channel. It was a shock, to say the least. At first was a bit of profanity. If I'm being honest. I'm gonna set this coffee down because, sorry, I had to put my coffee down because I feel like I can't film a video without like flailing my arms a little. At first I was freaked out for sure and I didn't really know what to expect. I told my mom and all I kept saying was like, there's 2. There's 2. There's 2. She goes, there's 2? What? There's 2? There's 2. There's 2. And the funny thing is, not so funny thing actually, is that like a week or 2 prior, my mom goes, I think you're having twins. And I was like, you shut your mouth. You don't talk to me like that. You don't say that. She goes, no, you're eating a lot. Like, I think you're having twins. And again, I was like, you're rude. Why would you say that to me? Don't talk to me like that. And then I go into the ultrasound and the tech is like moving the probe around and she shows me the baby and it's all, oh, how cute. And then she moves it a little bit and then all of a sudden another little circle, just a circle pops up. And she goes, huh, I wonder. And I'm like, oh, what are we wondering? What's happening? Are we wondering things? Okay, tell me what we're wondering. And she gets up and leaves the room. And I was like, are we good? Is this the part where I panic? Because this is like, you know, all new to me. And she comes back in with another person. And they're both checking the monitor that I can't see at this point. And they're clicking around and moving the probe and murmuring things to each other. And I'm like, this is where I panic. What is happening? And they turn the screen and move the little sonogrammy probe thing on my belly. And a whole nother baby popped out. It was like a bunk bed of babies in there. Yeah, I freaked out. And after the panic had kind of worn away, I realized that it was go time. It was time to make some serious money because there was 2. There's 2. Oh, here's another one. How did you meet your husband? We went over that. And when did you know he was the one? Oh, my poor husband. I actually friend-zoned him for a very long time. He was completely in love with me, and I was like, cute, cool, thanks. Like, you're my best friend, but like, I don't see you like that. Even though after initially seeing him and checking him out, I was like, wow, he's hot. For some reason, he just fell into the friend zone in my mind. And then we had gone to a Tim McGraw concert. In fact, I have a picture of this. Of us at this concert, and we ended up kissing afterwards. And he sent me a text the next day being like, what are you doing? You want to hang out? And I was like, look, I really want to make healthy choices with my life, and I feel like casually making out with my best friend is not one of them. And he replied back with, I see your point and I love you for that, but I hope you know I'm going to marry you one day, whether you like it or not. And that for me was just like a, hi, oh, okay. Wow. I think it was another conversation a little bit later where he said, I'm going to be one of 2 men on your wedding day. I'm either going to be the man you're walking down the aisle towards or the man standing next to him. And I was like, you're going to be the best man at my wedding? You can't be the best man at my wedding. You are my best man. Oh. And it was instantaneous. I knew that he was such a pivotal part of my life, and I knew that I didn't want to live my life without him, but it didn't click until that moment where he's like, look, you have 2 choices. Like, I'm either going to be the best man or I'm going to be the groom. And I was like, you can't be the best man. You have to be the groom. You have to be the groom. It was the most bizarre experience, and I'm so glad that this sweet man, who is never really good at expressing himself verbally, that he would say something so poignant and so special, because that is literally the switch that it took for me to realize that I did not want to live my life without him. In fact, we did a little day getaway a couple days later, and I kept looking at him. I was like, we're getting married, aren't we? And he's like, yeah, like we're gonna get married, right? We're getting married. And he's like, uh-huh. Like, it had just been this normal thing that he had known for the whole time that I was friend zoning him, and he's like, I love you, and I'm like, I know. And he just waited, and then I finally opened my eyes and realized that the rest of my life had been standing there the whole time. That was really mushy. I love you, babe. If you end up watching this, you probably won't, but just in case, I love you. And thank you for putting up with me for so long. You're a saint. How on earth did you cultivate such an amazing botanical collection? You, hi new favorite. What inspired it? I got all of these plants because I have no self-control. And also I really love the way they make a space feel. What inspired it? A lack of self-control. Really and truly, it just basically was like, I found so much joy in caring for the plants, and it's almost like a therapy for me to go around each and every week and take care of them and check in on them, and they don't talk back, which is amazing, slightly different from children. I find myself continuously inspired by other plant collectors and plant enthusiasts on Instagram and on Pinterest and all these other great locations, and on Facebook groups like I mentioned in last week's video. I just see these beautiful plants and I want to collect them. They're like Pokemon, I gotta catch them all, you know? So I'm not quite sure what started it. I think it was just another person asked what was the first house plant that I got, and I got a pothos and a ZZ plant, both of which are no longer with us. May they rest in peace. But that's kind of what started my obsession with it, and I placed them in my home and I thought, wow, that's really pretty. I like the effect that that gives. I need more. And then I just didn't stop. Ooh, this is a good one. How do you handle disagreements and or arguments with your husband? Any advice? We are both very different styles of communicators. In fact, if you're into the Enneagram at all, I'm a 3, which means I think I'm the performer. And he is a 1, which I think would be a perfectionist. I don't remember exactly what the terms are. But he and I see the world very differently, and he and I interact with the world very differently. But my biggest advice to you, and this is something that we try to do anytime we fight. Seriously, anytime we fight. I remember the first time I was so mad at him. Not the first time I was so mad at him, but the first time I said this. And I looked at him and I was like, there's no one else I want to do this with. And we both stopped. And he was like, what? And I'm like, I would rather fight with you than be happy with anyone else, okay? Like, I'm really frustrated right now, but there's no one else I want to do this with. And that was a game changer for us. And so now, almost every time we have an argument, don't get me wrong, there are plenty of them that we just argue no matter what. But we do our best to look at each other and say, there's no one else I want to do this with. If I'm going to fight about finances, if I'm going to fight about time, if I'm going to fight about parenting choices, the only person I want to fight about them with is you. I don't want to fight about that with anyone else. So that's my biggest advice to you, is whether you say it out loud or just remind yourself in your head, when it comes to relationships, really remember, you don't want to do this with anyone else. I would rather fight with my husband than be happy with anyone else. And by the grace of God, we have a laughter-filled matrimony. We are very happy for a whole lot of the time, but we're normal humans and we do fight. But when we do, we try really hard to remember, like, all right, I still pick you, okay? You kind of suck right now, but I still pick you. Who was your very first fame in person crush? Karen? Oh, Karen is a girlfriend of mine. She saw this on Instagram. Hi, I love you. My very first famous person crush was Michael Jackson. I love him. I know. Don't hate me. But his dance moves and his singing, I was like, ah! Okay. That's not a good example. That's not a good one to use, I know, but I'd rather be honest with you, be judged just a little bit, but King of Pop will always live on in my mind. At some point, you should do a birth story vlog. I'm sorry, I'm obsessed with home births. May, you're so cute. For those of you who don't know, I actually had a home birth with Silas, our youngest, who is just turned 2. But it was an amazing and radical experience. If you guys want to hear anything about home birth and why I chose it for him and why I plan on doing it again for whenever we decide to have more children, I'd be more than happy to delve into that. I think it was one of the most radical experiences of my life, and I'm a huge fan of it. And yeah, I'm a home birth junkie now. The lighting is changing drastically and it's really annoying. Which Karen, who asked the famous person question, she's partially to blame because I went to her hypnobirthing class and she changed my life. So there's more completely random information about me. But again, if you want to hear a little bit more about why I chose home birth after a C-section with the twins, then I'd be happy to delve into that. I think it'd be kind of cool. But I gotta warn you, like, I'm a huge fan of home birth, so like, prepare yourselves. Okay, last question, and this is probably the hardest one. I don't want to bombard you with wedding questions, so what's your favorite song at the moment? I almost wish you would have asked wedding questions because I'm such a huge music lover that, like, that's harder to answer than wedding questions are. Wedding questions, I'm like, oh, I got an answer for that. Favorite song? You mean, like, just today? Or, like, of all time? That's not fair. I was a huge choir nerd in high school. I can sing. I can sing all right. I have a good choral voice. I wouldn't consider myself a soloist by any means, but I can carry a tune in a bucket, if that's, you know, any indication of my level of skill. In fact, I used to ditch other classes to go to choir, like to go hang out in the choir room. If we're just really letting the nerdiness all hang out right now. So picking a favorite song is like picking a favorite plant or a favorite child. Okay, that's too far. I could pick probably a favorite plant. And probably a favorite child, depending on the moment. Just kidding. Don't judge me. Ooh. Greatest Showman reimagined. Panic at the Disco, singing The Greatest Show. Oh, it like combines so many things that I love. Panic at the Disco, which like makes me feel nostalgic, and The Greatest Showman, which is one of my favorite films of like the last 5 years because it's, you know, a musical. Choir nerd. So like, that's probably one of my top faves. Although I've really been enjoying Trampoline by Shade? I don't know, I'm just drawn to music that makes you feel something. And I know if I like a song because I want to sing harmonies to it. That's like a great indication of me enjoying a song. Is Jamie singing harmonies? Yep, she probably likes it. The whole choir thing goes so far that I was in a barbershop quartet in high school. Yeah, me and a couple other gals we went to, I was gonna say competitions, but we didn't go to multiple. We went to one competition. We weren't that big, okay? So music has always been a really important part of my life, and so there's 2 songs. If I had to pick right now what I listened to probably 10 minutes ago, it'd be those 2. So that's all we have for today, folks. Thank you so much for coming to hang out with me, and to everyone who's new here, thank you for subscribing. I hope y'all hang out a little bit more, even though you learned a little bit more about my weirdness, some of my quirks. Sorry about that, but you're also welcome. If you haven't done so already, subscribe, hit that like button down below because you like the video, all right? And if you have any more questions, leave those in the comments too, and I'll do my best to get back to you, or who knows, maybe your idea will be the inspiration for the next video. Until next week, bye guys!